So today I just want to give you guys a bit of free game. So I want to give you guys a free preset if you follow along to the video, and then a couple of just simple masking techniques that will really help elevate your photos. So I think for watching a video, a free preset and some good masking techniques, not bad. I want you guys to be able to take this preset and these masking techniques and translate them to your own photos. I've already tried recording this video probably 3 or 4 times now, to be honest. And the way I was doing it was pretty much just you guys following along as I edit. But to me, that didn't really seem like a reason for anyone to watch. So this is a preset that I use on a lot of my photos and have used on a lot of my photos over the last couple of years. So at certain points throughout the video, I'm just gonna pause on some of the sliders. You guys can copy these same settings and put this preset into your own Lightroom. So let's just hop right into Lightroom and get to it. All right, so we're here in Lightroom now. I got 2 photos. So I got this guy here, which is basically just closer to sunset. I'm going for more of like a golden hour look for this one. And then I wanted to pick a kind of more like contrasting photo, so a daytime photo, just to prove that you guys can use this preset in both scenarios, and show you kind of a couple different ways how to use it, what you can change to make it work for both these scenarios. I do just want to say as well, with this preset, I'm not going for like a really true to color look. So you're going to notice obviously like some hue shifts in the grass and stuff like that. I do mainly use it for like a foggy day in the docks, something like that. All right, so first thing I'm going to do before I like go through my presets or anything like that will be to just straighten the photo. So I'll see if Lightroom can automatically straighten this one, which it can, it usually does. AI is pretty good these days. And then what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to throw the preset on. So this is the preset. Obviously I have to make some adjustments. If you guys want, you can look at the settings here on the side and copy those. So you can just pause and copy these settings. And these are the tone curves. Again, you can pause and copy these. And then these are basically just the color changes. So this is the red to aqua. Again, pause, copy these if you want. And then this is the blue to magenta, so you can copy those. There's not really much done with the color grading wheels. Pretty much the highlights is just brought kind of like a little towards the green, and the shadows are brought slightly, like ever so slightly, towards kind of this this blue here. And then there is, I believe, a little bit of luminance noise reduction. You don't really need to worry about that. A vignette of -11, so you can copy that. Under calibration, I do have these changes made here. So the red primaries are at +100, green primaries, the hue is +100, saturation's -100, blue primary, hue -100. If you copy that, that is pretty much the free preset that I would be using as a base preset, but I'm going to make some changes, and if you like these changes more, then you can just adjust as you need. So again, if I want to take this preset and go for more of like a golden hour look, first thing I'm going to do is bring up the shadows, because I lost obviously a lot of shadows or details in the shadows. And I want basically these rocks to really pop. And then for the golden hour, we're just gonna change the temperature. So it's at 5150 right now. I think it started at 5070. And we're just gonna slide it up kind of towards like a warmer temperature that feels good. So right here, around the 5900 mark, feels better to me. And again, like I was saying with that true to color, you can see the grass is not really like a true green grass, but that's not what I'm going for in this photo, so that's fine. So yeah, this looks good to me. There is definitely some masking that needs to be done, but in terms of where the edit is sitting on just like basic adjustments, this feels fine. I don't want to bring up the sky too much and blow it out. So I'm going to leave that for now and just kind of start with the masking. First mask I'll normally always do is just a linear gradient up from the bottom, or if your like shadow side is from the left to the right, you bring it in from there. But for the most part, it comes up from the bottom, and I'm just going to decrease the exposure and just give a nice gradient towards the middle of the photo. This basically just helps bring your viewer's eye to where you want. So in this case, the main subject where you want the viewer to look would be the horizon here of the cliff and where the house is. So by doing this, you can see the before and after. It just, again, helps guide that viewer's eye. The road's a little bright and distracting, so you're just bringing that down a bit. And then our second mask is going to be a radial gradient. And I just bring this in from wherever the sun would basically be coming from. So in this case, it would be coming from the left side of the photo. So it was setting kind of down right here past this post. So I'm going to take my radial gradient and just really bring it in almost to like the middle of the photo. And important thing here is make sure it's feathered pretty much all the way. So you have like a nice roll off. It's not just like a hard line where we're going to make our adjustments. So for this, I'm pretty much trying to create more contrast between the left and the right side of the photo. So kind of like where the sun is and then the shadow side. So I'm just going to bring up highlights and whites. And then the biggest trick to this, it kind of just gives like a bit of almost like a misty filter look. And it adds a bit of haze or like glow. So you just bring down the dehaze. And you can see right away just from doing that, so it's sitting at -22. It just adds like a subtle glow almost along these edges here. So I'll show you the before and after so far. So again, we're just kind of creating that bit of contrast between the left side and the right side of the photo. On top of that, because I'm going for more of like a golden hour look, I'm actually going to bring the warmth up on this filter and kind of imagine as if it's like actually sunset light. So obviously it's like a orange, like warm light. So we're just trying to imitate that. So we're just going to bring the temperature up on that, and it kind of creates more like a golden light. So this makes a huge difference to the photo, obviously, as you can see already. So that feels good to me. If I need, a third mask would usually always be like a subject or an object mask around my main subject to bring more focus to it. However, in this photo, it's not really necessary. I think the house and the cliffs kind of stand out enough as is. And then the only thing I want to add, kind of, again, some free game, something I do in a lot of my photos, and a lot of people always message or contact me or comment on my photos about kind of this like soft glowy look, and a lot of people ask if I use a mist filter. So I do use a black pro mist filter from Tiffin almost always. However, I only started really using one in the last like 2 years. Before that, what I would always do, and what I still do, is bring the clarity down on all my photos. So this right here is sitting at -38 on almost all my presets. The clarity is sitting at like -20 or like 30 to 38 basically. So this just gives like a nice soft glowy look. As you can see, huge difference bringing down the clarity. And then to offset that, I just bring up a bit of texture, so usually around +20. Because obviously when you bring down the clarity, you do lose some textures. So I don't want to lose all that, so I just bring the texture back up a little bit. So yeah, if you want like a nice glowy look, -30, 35 clarity, and then +20, we'll say texture. So this is the before and after. We got a nice just sunset look with a few pretty easy clicks. So I hope you guys can just take that free preset and apply it to your photos. So we'll just move on to the next one. And again, I wanted to use this one because it's pretty drastically different lighting from the first one. Obviously you had this like nice, soft kind of golden hour or close to golden hour light in the first one. This is harsh daylight. The sun was like right above us in this. So kind of creating some harsh light, some harsh shadows. But we're gonna see how this preset works on this photo and what changes we can make to make it work. So we're just gonna come over. So the preset I'm showing you today is called Old Perlican, which funny enough, I created like a year ago, but it was actually, Old Perlican is very close to where this photo was taken. So right away, first thing I notice, it's a little desaturated for kind of like a daytime look. Again, mostly this preset I use on like a foggier day when I am going for a bit more like a desaturated look. So I'm just gonna like pop that saturation right back to 0 and see how that looks. So one thing that stands out to me is these kind of like blue curtains. I want them to pop a little bit more. So I'm just gonna come down to the blue and then just up a little. Get a little bit more saturation in those, and then like the blue sky and the reflection. I am gonna bring shadows up ever so slightly, and then I'm gonna test bringing the whites up. I might have to bring them back down and use more of like a mask. But basically what I'm going for here is trying to bring this boat here up a little bit without overexposing the sky too much. So that feels good to me. I'm gonna play with the temperature too. I almost feel like it needs to be a little bit warmer. We'll leave it there, 5250. But I mean, even from before and after, huge difference already. I'm actually gonna bring the whites back down. I don't think I like it where it is. It's kind of blown out a lot of the highlights there. Okay. So again, didn't make a whole lot of adjustments from the starting point. So you can see I just kind of brought some saturation back into it and made some simple adjustments. However, I do want to use that same linear gradient and really exaggerate the shadow here. So naturally, there is a bit of like a fall off, almost like a natural gradient that's kind of guiding the viewer's eye right up to this boat with the reflection. So I'm just gonna use a linear gradient like the first photo and really exaggerate that. Again, with the masks, make sure you really feather them out so it's a nice soft fall off. You don't want any hard lines that make it look really obvious that you have a mask on. Yep, so that feels good. We're just kind of helping this shadow a little bit more. I think if I do a radial gradient on this one, there's not much I can really bring up here because it is already pretty hot in terms of the highlights. So I'm gonna leave the radial gradient out of this one. I think there already is just like a pretty big natural contrast between kind of the highlights and the shadows here anyways, especially where we added that linear gradient. However, I am going to add, so like I said in the first photo, I normally do like a subject or object mask, but I didn't need it in the first photo, but I'm gonna use it here. So normally if you just have kind of like one main subject, you can click subject and mask and it'll select it, but with this I'm going to do object because I know a subject mask will select more than what I want. So I'm just going to paint around the boat and its reflection. And basically what I'm doing with this mask is I just want to help, again, guide the viewer's eye to where I want it to, which is this boat. You can see it didn't do a great job, so I'm just going to go add, select subject again, and paint the top there. Perfect. So how I'm going to do this is basically bring up probably like the whites and the shadows a bit on this boat, but also the texture, and just make it really pop against everything else. Especially where everything is so kind of soft and glowy, if you add a bit of texture or even like clarity back into the subject, it really makes it stand out and pop against the rest of the photo. I typically just use texture. Again, I find clarity is a little too harsh, so I'm gonna leave that. and maybe just a touch of contrast. So this is the before, after. So again, just kind of bringing it up a bit and adding a bit of texture to make it pop against the rest. Okay, so that is 2 quick photos edited with that one preset. As you guys can see, it was 2 very different scenarios. We had more of like a golden hour or sunset look, and then a harsh daylight, just like midday photo. So this preset can work for different scenarios. You just need to make a few tweaks. And again, the purpose of this video is not really just to watch me edit, it's to be able to take something away from it. So whether it's the preset or the masking techniques, I just hope you guys got something out of this and are able to translate it to your photos. And I do just want to say again, this preset's not really made to be like an exact true to color preset. It's just my style and how I edit and what I like. So it might not work for everyone, but it works for me, and I think you can at least give it a try in your photography and see if you like it as well. I'm going to put some of my presets up for sale on my website soon. However, in the meantime, while I tweak some and just finalize the looks, I'm just going to keep making these videos and give you a couple just free presets. So if you watched this far, thank you, and I will catch you in the next one.